We have a crisis in the world, tremendous crisis, and also crisis in our consciousness, in us. I see the urgency of change, radical revolution, mutation in the mind. I see it. It is necessary. There is complete quietness of the mind, and that which is silent has vast space. Only then that which is nameless comes into being.
This is Urgency of Change, the Krishnamurti podcast. A mind that has no jealousy or envy, that knows no competition, that has no fear and knows what it means to love. Only such a heart and mind can respond to the phenomena going on in the world. Hello and welcome to episode 274 of Urgency of Change. Each episode of the Krishnamurti podcast is based on a significant theme of his talks. Extracts from the archives have been selected to represent Krishnamurti's different approaches to these universal and timelessly relevant topics. This episode's theme is the heart. This is a podcast from Krishnamurti Foundation Trust based at Brockwood Park in the UK, which is also home to the Krishnamurti Centre. The centre offers a variety of group retreats, including for young adults. There is also a volunteer programme. The atmosphere of the centre is one of openness and friendliness, with the sense of freedom to inquire with others and alone. Please visit krishnamurticentre.org.uk for more information. You can also find our regular Krishnamurti quotes and videos on Instagram, TikTok and Facebook at Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave a review or rating on your podcast app. This episode on the heart has 4 sections. This first extract is from Krishnamurti's 4th talk in Bombay 1969 and is titled A New Quality of Mind and Heart.
Where is there light? Not your light, not the light of Shankara, Buddha and all the rest of those people, but light, new light, not the old light put in the old candle. Where is there light in all this monstrous world? You understand the question? Seeing the complete disorder in the world, seeing the darkness of sorrow and fear, anxiety, uncertainty, not being able to rely on anyone including on yourself. You say, where am I to look? Where am I to find a new quality of mind? So that's what we are going to find out. That's what we are going to learn about. Communicate with each other so that that new quality of mind is necessary. Right, sirs? Is this very clear? That a new quality of mind, of the brain cells, of the heart is necessary to meet this enormous complex life. Because the old has not answered it. The old brain, conditioned for millions of years, cannot answer it. It can only answer in the terms of its own conditioning, of its own memories, beliefs, fears, and therefore it cannot answer something new. Right? Be very clear on this point. If you say, I'll go back to the old tradition. I'll practice more Hinduism or Buddhism or become more ardently communist. That game is over. Because the challenge, which is always new, demands a new response. It demands a new quality of mind. Not a new thought. A new mind. We are using the word mind to mean not only its intellectual capacity to reason clearly, healthily, objectively, without any emotional sentiment. The intellectual capacity and the brain. With all its extraordinary capacities. And the physical nervous organism, all that is the mind. It's one unit, not separate units as the higher self, the lower self, and so on. The soul, the division that man has invented. This invention as the Atman and not Atman, the me and not me, just non-existent, non-factual. It's a theoretical thing. So whereas if you observe, the mind is the whole in which the brain cells with their memories, the heart with its emotions, love, sentiment, the feeling. All that is the mind. At least we are using that word to include all that as a whole unit, a living body, non-fragmentary. I hope you're also working. We are communicating with each other. Therefore, we are working together. You're not merely a listener. You are partaking in what is being said, which doesn't mean you agree or disagree. So, how is it possible for the brain, which has lived for millions of years, to undergo drastic change? You understand the question? We need a new brain. Not transplanted by the experts. We need a different quality of mind. To function at a different dimension. And can this happen? And that's what we are going to learn. Learn together. So, please, this is a very complex question. You have to follow this very closely, step by step, otherwise you won't understand it. As I said, as the speaker said, He has not learned this from any book, from any philosophy, from any psychoanalysis. He has observed. He's observed not only himself, but the world around him. In this observation, he has found that the world is not different from himself. He is the world, and the world is him. Not as an idea, as an ideal, but actually, you are the world. You live in this country. This country has taught you to be a Hindu, a Parsi, a Sikh, a Muslim, God knows what else. It has taught you to be a communist, a socialist, and so on. It has poured into you propaganda for thousands of years. You are that. You are what you have been told to be. And in observing, one sees the necessity of a new mind, new quality of mind. I think everyone agrees to that, agrees verbally. Intellectually, yes, they all say yes, that is what is required. Because the old responses have failed. The old formulas, the old guides, the old schools, the tradition have all gone, finished. They have no value anymore. You are faced with a new world, with a new challenge. Therefore, you have to have a new quality of mind. How is this to happen? First of all, one must realize that we are slave to words. Please follow this. Slave to words. You are a slave, if you are a Hindu, to the word Atman. If you are a Christian, to the word Jesus. And so on. You are a slave to the word and to the verb to be. I have been, I am, I will be. On that, your whole social, moral, religious life is found. On the word to be. Just think of it. To be a slave to words. So one must realize, be aware of the slavery to words, and therefore one becomes sensitive to words. And also, one must realize, not only verbally, but actually in your heart, in the depths of your being, that the description is not the described. The word tree is not the tree. The wife is not the wife. So the description, the explanation is not the described, is not the explained. So therefore the word is not the thing. Right? We are asking, how can this new mind with a new quality come into being, flower, in which is included the brain and the heart? How can it happen that we love? That we have compassion. You know that word compassion means passion for all people, for all things, passion. How can there be love, compassion, and a quality of mind that is stripped of the past? So the quality of mind that is innocent, that can see things as they are and transform them. Innocence means, the word itself means that which is incapable of being hurt. Do you understand what that word means? Incapable of being hurt. Therefore, no resistance. And therefore free. You require such a mind, a free mind, a mind that is not capable of resisting. And a mind that is incapable of being hurt. Because the moment it is hurt, it resists and therefore shrinks. Therefore loses its vitality, its energy, its capacity. So it means freedom without any resistance, and a mind that is incapable of being hurt, therefore free, and a heart that has no jealousy, that knows no competition, that's not envious, that has no fear, that knows what it means to love. And it's only such a mind and such a heart that can respond to this, to all this phenomena that's going on in the world. And we are asking, how can this happen? How can this happen that you have this mind and heart when your mind is filled with rubbish and your heart is filled by the things of the mind? How to empty the mind and the heart so that they are fresh, young, innocent. So that they can live at a different dimension. We are going to learn about it. You're not going to be told what to do. We're going to learn together. Do you understand? Learn. That means To learn about anything, you must have not only curiosity, but the energy, the drive, the intensity. Otherwise you can't learn about anything. You can memorize. That's not learning. You can go to college and memorize and pass few examinations, get a degree and get a beastly little job. But learning is not memorizing, not learning a formula. Learning means a movement in the act of learning, which is always the present. Learning means that, learning in the active present. It's a movement. And that movement ceases when you accumulate knowledge and from knowledge act. We're going to all that. This requires a great deal of perception, energy to learn. So, we are saying that man who has lived for millions of years, lived with sorrow, lived in fear and anxiety, lived without any sense of love except pleasure, lived in conflict and war. That man is now faced with an immense challenge. Either you respond to it completely, wholly, or inadequately. If you respond to it inadequately, you'll have more sorrow, more confusion, more misery. And no amount of politics and economic changes, whether it is brought about by socialists, capitalists, or the communists, that is not going to change this, your mind and heart. A different quality is necessary, and which we are going to learn. And to learn, you must have energy.
The second extract is from the third discussion in Saanen, 1971, and is titled Harmony of the Body, Heart and Mind.
The gentleman said you have been talking mostly about the mind, and rather neglecting the heart and the body, the organism. So he says, please go into this whole question of harmony between the three. So what do we mean by harmony? Balance, not contradiction, not in opposition, not fragmented. All the three working simultaneously, easily, without any friction. A sense of unity, not compelled, not directed, not controlled, but flowing easily, harmoniously, fully, deeply, without any sense of distortion. Would you say that is somewhat by what we mean harmony? Would you agree? Would you say that? In which the mind, the capacity to think neurotically or sanely, objectively or subjectively, which doesn't pull in opposite direction from the heart, and the heart doesn't pull in opposite direction from and so on. So that there is no contradiction, there is no tension, there is no sense of imbalance between the three. Right? Do we see, understand verbally what we mean by harmony? Do we agree to that? The definition, I'm only defining. We are not saying what it is or what it is not. We're just examining the word harmony. Then, are we harmonious? Taking the mind being the brain, thought, the intellect, with all the memory experience stored up, and the heart, that's the façon de parler, vous savez, heart, there is and the heart not desiring one thing and suppressing it, suppressed by the mind, not being jealous, not envious, quiet, that sense of richness, beauty, perfume, love, a sense of, heightened perception. And the body, quiet, functioning easily, not having eaten too much or too little, not too much indulgence or too much restraint, eating the right kind of food so that the stomach, the intestines, and everything functions easily with some fullness, right? Do we live that way? Let us take the fact, actually what we are. For most of us, there is no harmony in the sense we have used that word, between the mind, the body, and the heart. Because most of us are torn apart. We overindulge, we eat the wrong kind of food, our bodies have been neglected, and therefore it has lost its intelligence. And we smoke, we drink, we drug, you follow? The whole of that. Overactive, overstimulated, sexually, and the heart never constant, never steady, pursuing emotional expressions, satisfying demands, and so on. Jealous, envious, comparative. And the mind living in the past. What a lovely day it was yesterday. What lovely memories I had when I was young. The whole of that. That's our life, isn't it? No? Is that the life of the older people? And is that the life of the younger people? Are the younger people different in that sense than the older people? Are the younger people living a harmonious life? Or a life of laissez-aller, permissive, a life of revolt against the established order? And revolt is not revolution, right? So, do we start ideologically saying we must be harmonious, having the definition and making that into a formula, a concept, and then trying to live according to that? Or take facts as they are, that one does live rather a shoddy, unhealthy, contradictory, distorting life, sexually and mentally incapable of consecutive thought and reason capacity? That's the fact, isn't it? Do we take facts as they are, as we are, or do we pursue an ideal of what harmony is and try to imitate that? Go on, sir. If I have a concept of harmony, you understand what that word concept, to conceive a formula, to project an idea of what I should be, live a harmonious life. And the projection becomes the ideal. And according to that ideal, projected by my desire to live a harmonious life, and trying to live according to that formula, concept, there is this constant imitation of what I should be. And therefore in that there is conflict, isn't there? Right? So, the very conflict is disharmony. Right? Isn't that so? That is, I have an ideal that I must lead a kind of life, eat the right food, not drink, not whatever it is. After experimenting with myself, I must not. And I must have a loving heart. And I mustn't be jealous, I mustn't be envious, I mustn't be ambitious, I must be a vegetable. And I mustn't live in the... You follow? All these are projections of what I should be. Right? Right? Do please. This is your... And the ideal is fictitious, is not a reality, but what is a reality is what is.
The third extract is from Krishnamurti's first talk in Madras 1964 and is titled Giving Your Heart to Understand.
To inquire, because it's only through inquiry one is going to find out. And to inquire You must have freedom. And most of us have lost, or probably never had, this energy to inquire. Would rather accept. Would rather go along the old path. But we do not know how to inquire. The scientist in his laboratory inquires. He's searching, looking, asking, questioning, doubting. But outside the laboratory, he's just like anybody else. He has stopped inquiring. And to inquire into oneself requires not only freedom, but astonishing sense of perception, seeing. You know, it's very easy, not comparatively easy, to go to the moon, as they're proving it, and beyond. But it is astonishingly difficult to go within. And to go within endlessly. The first thing is freedom. Freedom not from something, but the act of freedom, which is independent of motive and revolt. When freedom becomes revolt, it is merely a reaction to the condition it exists in. It is revolting from something, and therefore it is not free. I can revolt against the present society. Present society may be stupid, corrupt, inept, ineffectual. I can revolt. But that revolt is merely a reaction. Like communism is a reaction against capitalism. So this revolt merely strands me, puts me in a position modified along the same pattern. So we're not talking of revolt. Which is a reaction. But we're talking of freedom, which is not from something. I do not know if you ever felt this nature of freedom. Not calculated, induced freedom. When you suddenly feel that you have no burden, no problem, when your mind is tremendously alive, and your whole body, your heart, and your nerves, everything intense, vibrating, strong. Such freedom is necessary. It's only a free mind that can really inquire, obviously. Not a mind who says, I believe and I'll inquire. It has no meaning. Or a mind that's frightened. Frightened what it will happen to it through inquiry, therefore it stops inquiring. Inquiry means a mind that's sane, healthy, that is not persuaded by opinions of its own or of another, so that it's able to see very clearly every minute as it moves and it flows. Because life is a movement in relationship, which is action. And unless there is freedom, not revolt, which has no meaning at all. Really, a religious man is never in revolt. He's a free man. And not free from nationalism, greed, envy, and all the rest of it. He's just free. And to inquire there must be the understanding of the nature and the meaning of fear. Because a mind that's afraid, at any level of its being, cannot obviously be capable of swift movement of inquiry. You know, because of tradition, because of the weight of authority, especially in this country, which is everlastingly boasting of 7,000 years of culture, and very proud about it. And these people who talk everlastingly about this culture probably have nothing to say, and therefore they talk about it. Such a mind that is caught in the weight of tradition and authority is not a free mind. One must go beyond civilization and culture. And it's only such a mind that is capable of inquiry and the discovery of what is true. And no other mind. They can talk about what is truth, and have theories about it, endless. But to find out for oneself, not for oneself, to find out, requires a mind that is free from all authority, and therefore from all fear. But the understanding of fear is an enormous problem, most intricate. I do not know if you have ever given your mind to it. Not only your mind, but your heart to it. Probably we have given our mind to it. And surely never our heart to it. Because to understand something, you must give your mind and your heart. When you give your mind to something, especially to fear, you resist it. You build a wall against it. You enclose yourself and isolate yourself or run away from it. That's what most of us do. That's what most religions are. But when you give your heart to understand something, then quite a different process takes place. When you give your heart to understand your child, then you care. Then you look to every incident and every detail. Then there is nothing too small or too great. There is no boredom. But we never give our heart to anything. To anything. Even to your wife and your husband or your children. And least of all, to life. And when one does give one's heart, then there is instant communion. When one gives one's heart, and when one gives one's heart, it's a total action. And when you give your mind, it's a fragmentary action. And most of us give our minds to so many things. And that's why we live a fragmentary life. Think one thing and do another. And we are torn, contradictory. And to understand something, one must give not only your heart, but your mind, but your everything. And to understand this very complex problem of fear, which we'll discuss next time, I hope that we meet here, requires not mere intellectual concept, but an approach which is total. You know, when you love something, I'm using that word in its total sense, not the love of God and love of man, or profane love and love divine. That's all to me. Those divisions are not love at all. We are talking about a mind and a heart that give themselves to something, not commit themselves to something, which is entirely different. I can give my mind and heart and commit myself to some course of action, sociological or philosophical or communist or religious. That's not giving oneself. That's only an intellectual conviction, a sense of following something which you have to do to improve yourself or society and all the rest of it. But we're talking about something entirely different, which is when you give your heart to something, then you are aware of everything in the sphere of that understanding. You try sometime, or I hope you are doing it now as it's being said. Because a man who says, I will try, he's lost. Because there is no time. There is only the moment, now. And if you're doing it now, you will see that if you give your heart, which is a total action, not a fragmentary, compulsive action, or the action according to some pattern or formula. When you give your heart, you will see then that you understand that something immediately, instantly, which has nothing to do with sentiment or emotionalism or devotion. Those are all too puerile. To give your heart something, you need tremendous understanding. You need great energy and clarity, so that in that light of clarity you see everything clearly. And you cannot see clearly if you're not free. If you're not free from your traditions, from your authority, from your culture, civilization, from all the pressures of society. It's not by escaping from society, going off into a mountain or becoming a hermit or a monk that you understand life. On the contrary, to understand this extraordinary movement of life, which is relationship, which is action, and to follow it right through endlessly. You must have freedom which comes alone when you give your mind, your heart, your whole being. Therefore, in that state you understand. And when there is understanding, there is no effort. It's an instant act. And it's only such a mind which is free, clear. It's only such a mind that can see what is true and discard what is false.
The fourth and final extract in this episode is from the fifth talk at Rishi Valley in 1965 and is titled A Good Mind and a Good Heart.
I wonder what you're all going to be when you grow up, what you will become, what your pursuits will be, whether the pursuit of excellence is merely in being excellently educated, and having a good job, a house, a wife and children, husband. And do we pursue, when we grow older, the excellence of mind and heart? You know, the world is pretty attractive for a man who has little money, a good job which he likes, and he can amuse himself in a great many ways and read good novels, good literature, go to good theatres, good plays, good cinemas, have a nice, clean, beautiful house and a lovely garden. It's good to have those things, but there is much more to life than that. There's the excellence, the pursuit of excellence of the mind, a really good, excellent mind. And also to have a full heart. You can't have excellent mind if you don't have a full heart. We think to have a good mind, a clever, cunning, sharp, bright mind that can pass examinations, argue cleverly, beat somebody at some game or at some business deal. Such a mind is really not a very good mind. A good mind can only be when there is a good heart, a flowering heart. Because the two go together. We give emphasis to the mind, to the intellect, to the cleverness of people. But we don't give importance to the beauty of heart, beauty of feeling, to great affection. I don't see how the two can be separate. We divide the two. The one we extol, we praise, we almost worship, a man of great erudition, knowledge, who can quote you innumerable books. But modern electronic brains can do that also. They can give you any kind of information, quote you any kind of book. But that such a mind which can quote, which can repeat, which can memorize things is not really a very good mind. A good mind, seems to me, is a mind that can think very clearly, unconfusedly, objectively, and go beyond the limits of its own limitations. A mind that's really very, very capable to discover its own hidden secrets, its own hidden motives, its own ugly or beautiful ideas. And it's a good mind that can go beyond the limitations which society imposes upon it. And I think that's the only religious mind. Merely going to a church, to a temple, or believing in some God or some belief is really not a religious mind at all. Really, true religious mind starts with things it knows, not with things it doesn't know. Starts with facts, with objectively looking at those facts, and then goes deeper and wider and more deeply, more profoundly from things that are near. I don't know if you ever watched. To go very far, you must begin very near. You must begin near yourself to go very far. And it's only such a good mind that begins very near, looking after a garden, caring for a house, loving the children, being kind, generous. It's only such a mind that can go very, very, very far. And such a mind has no fear. Most of us are so afraid of so many things, aren't you? We are afraid of so many things. And out of fear, we do great many other things. So, a good mind and a good heart really understands fear and doesn't do anything at any time out of fear. Because the moment you're afraid, you're lost. You begin to tell lies. Your mind gets confused. Your heart withers. And you get more and more miserable, confused, lost. So, a good mind and a good heart has no fear. Don't do anything out of fear at any time. When you're very young, or when you grow up. Don't do anything out of fear because, it leads to all kinds of troubles. Because most people are afraid, and that's why they run to temples, to swamis, to yogis, take to drink, do all kinds of things, but they're frightened deeply. But if you have no fear, then your mind becomes very sharp, very clear, and your heart is full, and from there you can live, act. And as the world is very attractive, so many things to buy, to look, so many museums, so many people who are very important, and you would also like to be very important, become very prominent. So, when you are pursuing prominence, status, seeking great many things that give you pleasure, with that always goes fear. And where there is fear, there is no beauty. I do not know if you watched that tree, that evening when there was that dancing, which is really excellent. I do not know if you noticed it. The tree, the beauty, the dignity, the extraordinary sense of solidity. We human beings are so little. There is nothing in us that is really deep, profound, solid. The mountains live and we disappear. And the little life that we have, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, is so crowded with misery. With so much sorrow, so much despair. And that's what we call life. And in that life there is no beauty. You know, when there was the dancing going on, I do not know if you noticed, there was such abandonment. And you cannot abandon yourself when there is fear. And you cannot see the extraordinary beauty of a tree or the lovely face when there is any kind of agony, despair inside you. So the pursuit of excellence of the mind and the heart must begin with oneself, with yourself. And that can only begin when you are very young, as now. And from there, move, live, and see the whole beauty of the earth. Because if you have no love, we're almost dead. Because very few of us know how to love. Because we are more concerned with pleasure than with love. And pleasure always breeds fear, agony, contradiction. So, to grow up is to have a good mind and a full heart, and to live every day as though it was the only day in life. You know what it means to live one day so completely that there is no tomorrow. But that's the only way to live intensely. And then life has an extraordinary beauty. And then beyond life there is that state of timelessness.